video because we've been bombarded with nonsense from the Australian Bulldogs Club that paid for out of taxpayers' dollars to tell the truth and never ever does. Well, it never seems to, put it that way. Jody Lowe dealt with the garbage that come across on Four Corners. Whoever put that together was hell-bent on trying to make people look stupid. They succeeded in making themselves look ridiculous because they botched up everything, thought they would get all these brownie points. Then they came back and they put an article up featuring purported Justice Peter Quinlan. The reason I call him purported justice, because if he's employed under the current Parliament, he is not a judge. Whether he likes it or not, he can't speak an authority into being when it does not exist in law. End of the story. I'll tell you why I say what I say. A federation, the states are created under 107, 108 and 109 and draw their authority referentially from that constitution. How do we know that? The constitution states that. Do we have one? Yes. It's the supreme law of this country. Justice Quinlan, or purported Justice Quinlan, would like to make a lot of assertions about so-called sovereign citizens. The word is an oxymoron. You can't be subjected to a country and be in total control of your own destiny and everything else. So why use a stupid thing? You talk about Roger Cook in your article. Roger Cook is a total traitor, a liar, a fraud and a thief. I won the court case in 2019 against the City of Greater Geraldton. The magistrate, who is now a judge, stated quite clearly to the council's lawyers, I cannot give you an order in relation to the property on his land. That's not pseudo-law, it's a decision he made based on what I put to him. Then he said, I cannot give you an order in relation to his land. I don't have the authority. No authority, no power to do anything. Then along came McGowan and dirty, thieving Roger Cook. Am I defaming you? No, I'm stating a fact, and I'll base it on fact and a decision of the High Court, which means you are what I call you. You and McGowan decided you could sell the land. You sold it prior to the court case. Knowing full well that it was there, I obtained the documents from Landgate which show you lied. You encouraged them to hurry up and deal with it because he was challenging your authority to take the land. You had no authority, you had no court order. You still don't have a court order because you lost. Shane Van Stein went around telling everybody I lost the court. No, I didn't. I didn't lose my land, you stole it. How do I know you stole it? Because McGowan and Cook stated that the Act says I owe the money, so I owe it, doesn't matter what the court says. Now, you've got a problem with that. In 2010, Tatani versus the South Australian government, the High Court ruled you can't have a law that takes away the judicial function of the court. And you claim that you had the right to seize my land and take it because your act took away the judicial function which was just ruled on. So, Peter Quinlan, you should have another look at who those thickheads are underneath you. Some of them are really smart people. Some of them are highly dangerous, as you call it, the so-called sovereign citizens are. Your judges are. Nunes and Murphy refused to abide by the Constitution. The video's on YouTube, proves it. The video says high treason and fraud in the Supreme Court of Western Australia. That's exactly what it was. High treason, don't care if it's out of the statutes here, means nothing. Under the Treason Felony Act, means a lot. Did they win the case? No, they didn't. Did I? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. My land should have been ordered given back to me because I didn't even know it was gone. But it was sold for $300,000 when it had a writ sitting on it for $2.8 million. Why? Who told you could say it? Who told you could lift that writ without hearing it? You didn't. So you lied. Why didn't they go back? Because you wouldn't let me back in your courts. You don't want me back in the courts because you don't like the truth. You know, this quasi-legal, absolute garbage that spews out of the mouths of people when they don't like a group of people that stand up to them. I've sat in the court cases. I've seen what the judges are up against trying to make heads or tails of some of the garbage that's thrown in their faces. I know it's garbage. It's based on what was taught by some American travelling around Australia saying this will do, that'll do, the other thing will do. We know you borrowed money against our birth certificate. So what? That's for a different situation altogether. You think that when we go to the court and defend ourselves, we should get legal advice from a lawyer who, under an unlawful act of the Western Australian Parliament, which actually doesn't exist in law, became officers of the court? Where's the conflict of interest? It's huge. Where's the control over the courts? It goes even further than that. See, on January the 1st, 1901, states could continue their constitutions subject to the Commonwealth Constitution and altered in accordance with the Constitution. The fact they could alter was removed by the fact that simply they were letters patent. They needed permission off the reigning monarch, actual signature, to be able to change them. So I put this to the court, and the Department of Public Peanuts decided they would remove it when it was going to a grand jury, which would have proved, through a voir dire, that this constitution was a lawful constitution of the state of Western Australia, put in place on the 29th of October 1900 with a letters patent. How do we know? It says so. It's on there. So what you're really trying to say is if we put sense to you and you want to follow government rhetoric, which you are, and that goes for you, Peter Quinlan, that's what you are. I've followed some of your cases. I've looked at them. I've listened to you. And I don't agree with the things you're saying. I'm not going to slander you. You will expect me to do that and mouth off at you. I'm just saying until you swear the lawful oath, you're not a judge. You're not a justice. You're not the Chief Justice. You're not a judge. You're not a magistrate. You're not a registrar. You're not even above the person who cleans the toilets in the court building. Because without an oath, you are not who you're claiming to be. That oath is the oath contained in this Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK. There is no exceptions. None. How do we know this has to be taken? Because the High Court ruled in HCA 44 of 2006, Forge versus ASIC. It was a case about the validity of temporary judges. In that case, it was decided and put into the decision. Not only permanent judges, but temporary judges must wear the oath before they take the oath of office. What part of that, Peter Quinlan, don't you know? Or haven't you ever heard about it? Now you know. You have a duty to look it up. When did you rescind your oath to the Bar Association, which is contrary to Section 44, subsection 1 of our Constitution? When did you do that? You didn't. Every single lawyer that walks into that court and sits as a magistrate, a judge, a justice, or anything else without rescinding the oath to the bar is committing an act of treason, incapable of sitting where they are. Did I say so? No, but this does. Are you subject to imperial law? Yes. Why? Because it says so. Clause 5. You can carry on with all your rhetoric, which I read, and it was garbage. I know the situation with the person who got locked up. I didn't give him any legal or lawful or any other advice. I did tell him today, because I only spoke to him today for the first time, what his lawful rights were under our Constitution and under the laws, which is law, not something that the government who don't exist states as law. You tell me the state constitutions can continue subject to the Commonwealth Constitution. Who told them they can remove them? Who told them they could put one in with 32 sections missing? No one. So even though 107, 108 and 109 established the Commonwealth, the states rather, under the Commonwealth Constitution, subject to it, they draw their authority referentially from that. How do we know that? HCA 48 in 1996, when McGuinty decided he was going to chuck everyone under the bus. The states existed before Federation and we knew nothing, but it turned out he was the one who knew nothing and he was told that. Understand that, Peter Quinlan? You're not smart. Intelligent, yes, obviously not smart enough to stick up and stand up in the position you are. Do you know your position? Do you know Cook isn't part of a government, he's part of the legislature. You see, you go to page 701 of the annotated one, you find out we have an executive, which is the governor selects 10 from the lower house, 8 from the upper. He gives them all the portfolios and they sit separate from the legislature, which is the second tier of that government. The third tier being the judicature. The Constitution is clear. All courts are part of a federal judicial system with a High Court at its summit. Nothing to do with state-controlled courts. So why are the Magistrates' Court, you're the Chief Justice according to you, Mr. Quinlan, Peter, doesn't matter, you are not the judge, so I don't have to show you respect until you start abiding by our law, not quasi-sovereign law. Yours is crap law. There's no such thing as quasi-sovereign, quasi this, pseudo-legal garbage. That's all words used by morons who don't understand. The Constitution is a supreme law. Doesn't matter what you think. Who told you you can remove it? Nobody. Did they take it? Yes. That's an act of treason. So let's go back to the Magistrates' Court Act. Who does that employ? Lawyers who pretend to be magistrates. Do I know what I'm talking about? Yes, I spent 17 years in the police force. I studied the law. I studied the Constitution for over 55 years. That's why I'm conversant with it. Not because I'm anything special, because I want to know what the true law of this country is, because I realised in the police force the liars sat on the bench in the courts and in the parliament. The traitors sat on the bench in the courts and the parliament. Then you took lawful stipendiary magistrates out of courts of petty sessions, created them from lawyers to be magistrates when they don't exist in law, and they still don't exist in law now. It's not a law. Anybody who signs off that and says it is law is a liar. If you say that, you're a liar. The Magistrates' Court Act puts the magistrates under the direct control, and the court, direct control of the Supreme Court of Western Australia. As I put to Nunes and Murphy, page 791, the beginning of the first paragraph, says not only the High Court, but every court of competent jurisdiction can declare a law of the Commonwealth of the state to be invalid by transgressing the Constitution. Why aren't you doing it, Peter Quinlan? You've got a double part where you play, but if you became the Chief Justice. Why? Because any court of competent jurisdiction, and it goes on to say That is a duty cast upon the court by its very judicial function. Your judicial function is to condemn unlawful laws. So when somebody comes before the Supreme Court in relation to local government, you've got to declare that act to be invalid. Why? When did the people say you could have it? It wasn't in the Constitution. I've got it here. If you say it is, tell me, and I'll read it for you, just so everybody will know that I'm wrong and you're right, but you're not. You're not. Where's the authority to create another form of government? There isn't one. Where is authority over people's land? There isn't any. The documents are before the Geraldton Magistrates Court, which prove no one has control over your land once you purchase it, except you who purchase it. The water doesn't belong to anybody under the law, imperial law. You're bound to under Clause 5 of the Constitution. You are bound to it, Peter Quinlan. Any time somebody comes to talk to you in the court and put things to it, you are required by your own rules, not that they're law, they're a guideline for you, you must declare the acts invalid if they transgress the Constitution. I've put them several times. Nunes and Murphy ignored it. And the person who yelled out from the back of the court, arrest that judge, that's treason, was a retired barrister. Was he correct? Absolutely 100% correct. And the magistrates got out of the court. Why? Because I brought up the fact that Wayne Martin sat in the Supreme Court of Western Australia and never swore the lawful oath. How do I know that? On the 21st of June 2011, I was before him. I said, have you sworn the oath in the Constitution? He said, no. I said, why not? He said, because I don't have to. I said, it's in the third schedule of the Constitution. He said, there's no third schedule. I said, okay, I made a mistake there. It's in the schedule to the Constitution. I opened the red book and started looking up the section where he said he had to swear, the Constitution says you had to swear the oath. Section 72. Section 72. And he just poo-pooed it. I don't have to. He went on and he lied in that court. He said every single one of my patents were of the same invention, even though it was 3 individual inventions, and the third one was split into 2 because it had 2 inventive steps. He refused to allow me to represent my company. I was a sole trader. I was the managing director. There was nobody else involved. He used a rule that had been actually relaxed for the purpose of the managing director running the court. But he wanted me held responsible for anything that he decided. Then he went through the whole case. The reason I bring this up shows how good judges are not. How they lie, cheat and steal sitting in our court. And you think we should not have the right to go in there. We should use a liar called a lawyer who lies for the better good according to his own oath. So where do you get that we have no right to go in there? You can call us sovereign citizens. That's slander. You said that a young couple went to jail for slander. A civil matter, but I'm not getting into that case. And you sit there and slander people by calling them sovereign citizens. That's slander. We are not. We are the Commonwealth. We tell you what to do, whether you like it or not. I don't care if you're Freemason, Fabian, Druid, Buffalo, Zionist, or whatever you are. You are bound by our Constitution. You must, every single one of you, as magistrates or judges or whatever you want to call yourself, resign your oath to the bar. Otherwise you're sitting unlawfully under 44 of the Constitution. Am I correct? 100%. Is the Parliament sovereign? No. Is it supreme? Absolutely not. Go to page 676. It says the Constitution is above both houses of Parliament and they must comply with it. The bottom of that page says the Parliament's not supreme, and the very essence of federation is that must be so. The Parliament, like everyone else, is subject to the law and must abide by it. That's you, Peter Quinlan. You are subject to the Constitution and the law. You don't like that? Get out of there. Stop collecting money for nothing. I don't care if you've been a barrister, lawyer, whatever for the last 50 years. You are bound by the laws of this country. You are not above it. You are not sovereign. Now you go to page 791. It clearly says, neither the federal nor the state parliament are sovereign bodies. They're only legislatures with absolute limited authority. Limited by what? This. Can't say state constitutions because Western Australia never put its lawful one in place. Never put it in place. So we only had 5 of the 6 states we needed to create the first federal parliament because each state's representatives come together to create the first federal parliament. It's never happened, so we've never had one. You can lie and say it did. I don't care. The second you say it, it's a lie. So don't say it. Choice is yours. I'm not slandering you. I'm just saying, don't say it. It doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, no Treaty of Versailles, no preferential voting, no conscription, no League of Nations, no United Nations, not one agreement or treaty signed by anybody purporting to be a member of the federal parliament has ever been lawful because we never had one. Am I correct? Read this and you'll know. But go above that. Go to the Geraldton Magistrates Court and look at the challenges to the jurisdiction, the statement from the alleged offender who isn't one, the challenge to the jurisdiction of every court in this country, and the challenge to the manager, because it's a registered company, like everything, including the company you work for, Department of Attorney General, all those are all registered companies. Police, registered companies. ABN numbers. Oh, that's just for GST. Read section 51, subsection 2. Any law in relation to tax shall deal with one subject of tax only. Goods and services. 2 subjects of tax. The law is invalid. How do they enforce it? With threats and seizures and stealing and judges who will not declare that law to be invalid. And it's been before the Supreme Court. Wayne Martin ignored it. Wheeler, Pullen and Buss ignored it. Julie Wager said the ramblings, or what did she call it, the dicta of Isaacs has no bearing in this court. The dicta of Isaacs was an explanation, he stated, in the 1923 case, alienate your land from the Crown. What's in front of the Magistrates Court in Geraldton now is a challenge to local government based on that law. That law. Julie Wager doesn't know. She was just following a little bit. She's the Chief Justice of the District Court, I believe. But she was wrong. She was wrong in law. Why? Because this says so. Not me. This says so. Every single state, starting with New South Wales in August 1902 to Victoria by 1975, removes their constitution, replaced them, or butchered them so badly they didn't exist in law. How then can you make a law pursuant to the state constitution? Is it binding? Oh yeah. HCA 39 of 1915 at paragraph 148. Sir Samuel Griffiths, one of the people who wrote the Constitution, said, here you find 106 binds the state constitution and all laws made pursuant to it to the overriding authority of the federal constitution. Stated in here where you can do what you like. You can't. Can you change it? Did they change it? Well, New South Wales pulled a doozy. They've changed all their magistrates to judges using the 1902 Constitution of New South Wales. That Constitution is fraud, treason on the Crown of England. Now, it's time to wake up. You want to sit in our court and collect money, clean out your closet, mate. It's full of crap. There's no such office of Premier. He's the premium person in the state parliament, the Speaker. The federal parliament, that moronic half-wit you got there, called Albanese, or Ellery, or whatever his correct name is, he won't say. He's too busy lying about everything, giving away billions of dollars, pouring it into the Olympics in Queensland. While we've got people wandering around in the bush, living in tents, in cars and everything else, because there's nowhere else to live. Are they wrong? Are they using pseudo-legal suggestions? No, we're not. What's my interest in all of this? Simple. I swore to uphold the law in the police department. When I got badly injured, I swore to do the same and kept doing it as a Commonwealth public official, not through Australia, through England. And I've got the appointment. I produced it in the court so that the police would see that the lies they told about me appointing myself were exactly that, lies. I didn't. I sit back and I read this stuff written by the Australian Bulldust Club, and in this case it was Jake Stumner or Stummer, doesn't matter. It's a pack of lies. I know quite a few of those people. My opinion is that common law court's not lawful. Sheriffs are. If the officers of the Crown operating in common law and doing what they do to be there to assist the police and assist anybody else. They have a duty, once they swear the oath of allegiance to the Crown, which they've done, to serve the people. And they do it. You don't like it because it cuts across your so-called police, who aren't. They're public officers. Kirby ruled in Sydney City Council versus Reid, the DPP are public officers and as such are creatures of statute, can never be officers of the Crown. I brought it up in Charlton in year before last, when I proved that Western Australian police don't exist under their own act. There's no such entity. And I said then, if I walk over and smack this bloke in the mouth, not that I would, you would arrest me and charge me with assaulting a public officer. You said, the magistrate, not knocking him, he was a gentleman and I treated him with respect and he did to me. Not a problem. No argument. Not from me, not from anybody else. I didn't go there to insult him. I went there to put the law to him. There is a lot of people learning that are doing that. But when we see Peter Quinlan, the so-called Chief Justice, come out and say, it's pseudo-legal, you're trying to make out we know nothing. Well, if we know nothing, then the law doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Because it has to be able to be deciphered by us. It says so. And by the way, the rule of law doesn't say that we're guilty until proven innocent. It says we're totally innocent until proven guilty. Understand what I'm talking about. You know the 1999 referendum was to debunk the fact that Aboriginals were the first inhabitants of Australia and put in place the rule of law. We said no, because that rule of law was a Roman rule of law, which is maritime, which says we're totally guilty until we prove our innocence. It's the other way around. It's the other way around. If you say it's anything else, you're lying again. Not misleading, you're lying. Lying is fraud. Fraud vitiates everything at inception. So when you sit on the bench, I've seen a magistrate sit in the court, misquote a statement of a witness, lie, and then convict the person when it's all a lie. That's fraud. Why isn't he behind bars? Because he's somewhere mixed up in the Freemasons and Fabians and doesn't have to pay the penalty until we get him, and he does. And he stands trial for treason. That's not a threat, that's a promise. People ring up and threaten. When you locked me up and lied, and when we explained you would do nothing about getting my property, which you stole, people did ring up and make threats. I went up to the station. I didn't know who made them. I was nothing to do with it. Yeah, I agree, John, but I'm not quoting from that. You know, you can sit in our courts, all of you, every single judge and magistrate. You've heard about the moratorium on pedophiles. You've heard about it. You've heard about the rape, incest, child abuse, and everything else that goes on in this country. The murders and everything else. What do? Cover them up. Do you? Yeah. You don't do anything about it. And if you don't do anything about it, you're guilty of those offences. Do I? Yeah, I'm forever bringing it up. Pushing. I'm too old to get out and start fighting these little creeps, to a degree. But I'm not backing down. So if you know about it, Peter Quinlan, and now you do, if you're watching this, and you probably will get shown it, I don't care. I'm not slandering you. I'm telling you what our Constitution says you have to do. Rescind your oath to the bar or get out of our Parliament. I know about Sue versus Hill, where the High Court decided they had the right to say it wasn't really necessary for them to swear the oath. They can swear whatever oath they like. 42 of the Constitution is very clear. Every senator and every member of the House of Representatives, before taking their seat, must swear the oath contained in the Constitution. They're scheduled to this Constitution. That's what it's talking about, and that's what it says. Why aren't they doing it? So we've got a loudmouth woman, and I'm not knocking women or the fact that she's Muslim, saying, I'm an independent now. No, you're not. You're nothing until you go back and swear the lawful oath contained in our Constitution, because without that, I don't care who you are. I'm not against your religion or any belief. You can have all of them you want. But you cannot inflict them on the people in this country. The Constitution is clear. Follow our customs and beliefs, assimilate or get out. If you're not going to assimilate, why aren't you judges, that you call yourself, who have been paid mountains of money, why aren't you kicking out these laws that are unlawful? Why aren't you kicking these people out of our country? Why is the High Court running under an Act of the Federal Parliament in direct contravention of Chapter 3 of the Constitution? Where's the separation of powers? Don't come up with the Australia Act, because that's a load of crap and you know it. When did it go to the people in a referendum? It didn't, so it's not valid. You know, you're sitting at your desk and you're talking, you look all worried, and you're concerned about this and concerned about that. You're concerned about nothing except your pay packet at the end of the month, unless you show that you're going to be a lawful judge and rescind your oath to the Bar Association and become an officer of the Crown. You know, and definitely Cook and McGowan know, because they were in the Parliament when it happened, they produced the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act, made all lawyers officers of the court. Crap, they're not. And under Section 8 removed the Crown. Did they? Yes, I've got a copy of the Act. Did they remove it out of the state constitution? No, they removed it out of the unlawful constitution because they were too sick to know that the state has never had the power to change an imperial act. And they did remove it out of all the legislation under those Affidavits and Statutory Declarations Act. They think that they have the right to remove the Crown out of all our law. Why? What I said the other day, or a couple of days ago, in relation to authority. You can't exercise any power in the Commonwealth unless it's granted a right of authority. And that authority only comes from the Crown. Every public servant must swear the oath. I feel sorry for that Muslim woman, because if she follows her religion, she can't swear an oath to the Crown. I understand that. But she can't sit in our Parliament either. That's the law. Not what you feel, not what you think. You can't take up any position of authority anywhere in the Commonwealth without swearing the oath contained in the Constitution or the oath of affirmation. Your choice. But you have to swear it, one or the other. So till then, you mouth off in our parliament, you're a nothing until you follow it. Nothing to do how you dress. I've got a lot of friends who are Muslims. I treat them with respect, and they treat me with respect. Respect gets respect from both ways. Why isn't it dished out from the courts? Because the courts think they're above the law, and they're not. I know Anne Toomey teaches the Parliament's above both houses of Parliament, and it's above the Constitution. Lies. I'm sick to death of listening to her garbage in relation to the Constitution. Yeah, I know I got told off for something I just said, but don't worry about it. I'm not sick to death at all. What are the solutions? Nicole Nicholson, what are the solutions? What are you going to offer up as a solution? There's one coming up. Stand Up for Australia on the end of this month is part of it. If you can't stand up for that, get out. If you think you can tell people who run businesses you can't sell cigarettes, you can't sell alcohol, I'd love to see that go. But you have no authority to tell them. And as for your Sharia law, take it and get out of our country. Chapter 3 of the Constitution lays out the system of courts and how they'll be dealt with. If you think you have the right to butcher women's genitals behind closed doors and get away with it, you don't. You don't. Nicole, good. I'm glad you're going. Everybody should go. And as for that lady who's withdrawing, I would ask you, don't withdraw. Get rid of all the flags. All of them. Every single flag. You go to those rallies, don't take flags. This is not about promoting one flag over the other or anything else. What we need to do is unity in this country so we can get rid of the Peter Quinlans and the Roger Cooks and the Jake Stunners and all those people who think somehow they're above the law when they're not. Everybody is subject to the law. Everybody. And this says so. This is not an act of the British Parliament the way it's portrayed. It was asked for by the people of this country. It is an enabling act which enables us to have a constitution. If I'm wrong and you think you're right, Peter Quinlan, the Magistrates Court is under your control. Go get a copy of the documents we filed into Geraldton Court. It's under Michael Kent of the family Burnett. Look it up. We've challenged every single thing in that court and every court in this country. Every lawyer, get rid of your oath of office or get out of our courts. We don't want you there. We want people to swear to tell the truth, to put forward truth in our courts. Because without truth there is no justice. No lies can change that. I don't care what you're taught in school. School's wrong. If it doesn't treat, justice comes only from truth. Then it's wrong. You think I'm wrong? Well, there's a lot of people out there think I'm right. A lot of people think I'm right. Whether you do, I don't really care. I'm not slandering you. I'm saying you put you in the position, you're the Deputy Governor, you can sack the Governor because he's not lawful. Not lawful. Cook, McGowan, and that Commissioner and the Parliament of this state put together an act which says they can grab you off the street, hold you down and give you a vaccine, and they know fully well it kills people. But you're not forcing people, are you? Did you force them? Christopher John Dawkins, you went up north to several communities, and believe me, I can get statements if you want, to prove you went there, threatening to take kids and jab them and then make sure they never see their parents again. Whatever you did, whatever lie you told to get them to take the jab, and some of them are dying. That's murder, and you're guilty of that murder. You're not a governor. You're not an officer of the Crown. You were sworn in 1979, your mouth, by Governor Kyle. I was sworn in 1975, the 6th of January, by Governor Kyle. I swore the oath. The same oath I swore to join the CMF, Citizens Military Force, in the engineers department. I saw it. Most people in the services did. Does the government or parliament have control over our military? Absolutely not. The Governor-General does on the instructions from England. It's His Majesty's Army, his or her Majesty's Air Force or Navy. Nothing else. Nothing else. So have a nice think about what I said, and Jake, stop your crap. Try telling the truth. People will start listening to you. Yeah, I'm trying to. The fly's trying to talk on the microphone. Unfortunately, it's going to click, click. Right, I got nothing further to say except Australian Bulldust Club, you need all your money removed from you because you're running lie after lie after lie, pushing government rhetoric when you should be telling the truth, and you're not doing it. So you have a nice day. Think about what I said, Peter Quinlan. Time to tell the truth. Time to stand up and say, you're not going to do it because I have the power to sack you. You have the power to dismiss every law that's not made compliant with the Constitution. Order the Magistrates Court Act to get rid of it. Get rid of the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act. It's unlawful. Get rid of the Oaths, Affidavits and Statutory Declarations Act. It's unlawful. It does not comply with the provisions of the Constitution. Make every state, or make this state, put its constitution back in place. That would be a good addition, Peter Quinlan. Something you have the power to do as the Deputy Governor. And if Christopher John Dawkins doesn't want to do it, have him chucked out. Because he's not sitting there lawful. He was running the police force, which is actually a public office group, a private company, private army, to control the people of this state, contrary to 114 of the Constitution. He was running it. At the same time, he was the Minister for Vaccines. Cook pushed him. God knows why he did it. McGowan did. Everybody thought McGowan was a hero. Now they're finding out their relatives are dying. The science, the actual true science, says that was a deadly vaccine. The Minister for Health said it's the greatest experimental drug ever put on the market. Commonwealth Criminal Code says if you use an experimental drug on the people, you're a terrorist. There's the law. What are you going to do about it, Peter Quinlan? What are you going to do about the pedophiles, the rapists, the murderers, and the people from the Catholic Church who raped and interfered with kids? Not all the congregation. It's nothing to do with them. I know a lot of them, they're really nice people. But you're in a position to do something about it. Are you going to do it? If not, stop going on the news. Stop putting yourself in a place where we can talk about you. Because until you do that, you're not doing your job. You don't like what I'm saying? Tough. Get with the program. Have a nice day.